All right. Did we ask, Justin, I should have asked you why the haircut is Giambroni. Was it Giambroni reference? Was there a tie-in there on the hair at all? Sixth floor. All right. It's a big topic. I haven't even made a Giambroni joke yet, and I actually lived in the guy's ward for 10 years, okay? We can talk later. Okay. So, we're on to contestant number 3, Camille Labchuk. Camille is on about our favorite topics, I think we can say for everyone in the room, is reforming the voting system. And I'm glad I was asking Camille, and she has in fact run for office herself, not this time round. And one of the motivations was that there was no women running in her area. And so I want you to note that there is another big race where there's no men in it in Toronto this year. You might want to think about that. Okay, so thank you, Camille.
Okay, so I am going to use my notes. Apologies. So I'm worried about the state of democracy in our city. Thousands of us took to the streets a few weeks ago to protest the state of democracy in Ottawa, but what about the problems in our own backyard? In the last municipal election, turnout was only 41%. And not only is turnout too low, but look at the outcomes. Do you see the face of Toronto reflected on City Council? We're one of the most culturally diverse cities in the world, yet 9 of 10 councillors are white and 8 of 10 are men. So our City Council clearly isn't truly representative, and that suggests to me one of two problems. Either voters don't care, or the system's screwed up. And I say the system's screwed up. It was developed when people still thought the earth was flat, and that was fine for the 11th century, but it was because it was replacing no voting at all. Now it has one major flaw, and that's that it's not democratic. Not all voters get to elect someone. In 2006, 44% of us elected no one to City Council. But democracy means that everyone has the right to representation regardless of how you vote. So in your ward, maybe 60% of the voters are on the right and 40 on the left. And if you're the 40 on the left, you still deserve that representation. But like many things in life, the answers can be found in a package of Smarties. So let's look at the problem here. These are people living in a ward in Toronto. And for simplicity's sake, we'll say there are 2 groups. Instead of left and right, let's call them blue and yellow. And here we see our yellow and blue voters living in 3 different wards. And each ward has both a yellow and a blue candidate, but since Toronto uses a winner-take-all system, each ward can only elect 1 councillor. So in each of these wards, there is slightly more yellow voters than blue. And if you see what happens here, even though many voters cast blue ballots, only yellow candidates are elected. So the blue voters elect no one to sit on City Council for them. So when winner-take-all elections happen in 44 individual wards, well, it's no kidding that City Council doesn't reflect the face of the community and that our concerns often go unheard. So what can we do differently? The best way to make City Council representative is by electing a number of people in each ward. Let's look at the Smarties again. Instead of 3 smaller wards, the same people could vote in a larger ward with that elects 3 councillors. And the blue Smarties here elected no one before, but now, because they're 1/3 of the voters, they can elect 1/3 of the councillors. So how would we give full representation to all Toronto voters? Instead of 44 wards electing just 1 person each, we could have 9 larger wards with 5 councillors each. And if you think back to the Smarties, 5 people elected in each ward means that 20% of the voters could elect someone. And it means more diversity. It sets the stage for more ethnic diversity, gender diversity, and even age diversity. But lots of people have schemes on how to build a better democracy. So is just this another lunatic fantasy? Or is it so complicated and confusing to voters that no one has ever done it? No, the system is used quite widely. Over 100 councils in Scotland, Ireland, New Zealand, Cambridge, Massachusetts, and in the early part of the 1900s, New York, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Boulder, Toledo, Sacramento. And here at home in Canada, we had Vancouver, Victoria, Calgary, Edmonton, Regina, Saskatoon, Winnipeg, and 12 other cities. So it is being done. Canadians shocked politicians and the media a few weeks ago by taking to the streets, but we don't have representative democracy here in Toronto, and we don't have a council that represents the face of our population. But we could have that if we demanded it, and I think we must demand a new voting system that gives us full representation. We could demand the right to cast a ballot that elects someone to council, even if we're a minority in our part of the city, and we could demand that Toronto lead the way with municipal voting reform. So we can do this, and I think we must do this for the sake of democracy, and I'm going to keep on working on this project, and I hope you will join me. You can see fairvote.ca for more information.